Hey, HorseCenter fans, we are talking Pegasus World Cup, Pegasus World Cup turf, Saturday at Gulfstream Park here on HorseCenter. Matt, what else?
Boy, Brian, this weekend is as big a racing as that Pegasus statue at Gulfstream Park is.
Yeah, that's right. We have suggested wagers, some of our favorite wagers from those two big races worth $16 million. We'll also have some Kentucky Derby prep talk. Watch it right now, all here on HorseCenter. Welcome to another edition of HorseCenter, everyone. I am Brian Zipsy, and as always, I have the fantastic pleasure of being joined by my co-host to the East Coast. That's Matt Shipman. How are you today, Matt?
I'm good, Brian. It's time for us to turn our eyes to Gulfstream Park, where the racing world will be watching.
Well, 16 million reasons to watch Gulfstream Park on Saturday, Matt. I guess it's more than that because they have a nice little undercard filled with stakes races. But we're going to focus on the big two, the $9 million Pegasus World Cup finishes the card. And the race before that is a little $7 million, new $7 million turf race called the Pegasus World Cup Turf. Let's start with the World Cup, Matt. We've talked about this race on the show quite a bit already, but now we have the post positions. Let's run them down in order of post positions, and Matt, and let's give a little bit of thought on each horse. Then we'll talk about our top pick. And, Matt, we're going to do some wager suggestions for our watchers out there. Maybe we'll hit something really nice and have some of our viewers hit it as well. That would be good. You ready?
I'm ready. Let's go.
All right, breaking from the rail, old reliable, Calumet Farm, Dwayne Lucas, Bravazzo, Matt. He's been knocking on the door for a long time. Is this the day he finally breaks through?
I don't think so, Brian. But I certainly can't discount the possibility that he's going to make a good run at the end of the race and maybe get into the superfecta. Dwayne Lucas said after the draw that him being on the rail is going to have him a little bit closer to the pace. I don't know about that. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that either, Matt. I tell you what, I like his last two races, both the Churchill Downs Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile and even better, the Clark Handicap, where he just missed. I'm not sure about the rail. It does worry me a little bit, given his running style and his best races to date. Having said that, mile and eighth coming off those races, I think he's an interesting long shot at least. I don't see him winning again. But on the other hand, I am going to use him on the bottom of my trifectas for sure. Matt, number two is a horse I don't think either of us are high on. That's Something Awesome.
Yeah, this is the entry from the Stronach Connections, one of two winners of the Charlestown Classic in the field.
That's right, and I don't like either one of them. Enough said about Something Awesome?
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Well, number three should get some more chatter from your HorseCenter hosts. Number three is City of Light, and City of Light was the only horse to beat Accelerate last year. That happened in the Lawn Handicap. City of Light was a smashing winner of his last race in the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile.
City of Light, major contender. As I see the race, I see him as the only horse that has a possible shot at knocking off Accelerate. He's training marvelously after his big win in the Breeders' Cup Mile. I think the Gulfstream Park racetrack is one that he should like. Maybe the mile and an eighth is not his very best distance, but that Oaklawn performance shows that he can handle it.
Absolutely. And yeah, I think there's little to say that he can get a mile and eighth, especially at a racetrack like Gulfstream Park. The Oaklawn Handicap was a big performance. His only failure really was when he faded to third at a mile and a quarter against Accelerate, so not a big failure there either. City of Light, listen, he's a really good horse, and if he runs like he did that day at Churchill Downs, who's to say he's not the best horse in this race? Wow, given that Accelerate's in this race, but City of Light is that good. I too think he has a big shot, but I don't think he's the only horse, Matt, that can beat Accelerate on Saturday. What about number four from the Dallas Stewart barn, Seeking the Soul? Sometimes he's not on his best. He was fifth, I believe, in this race last year, Matt. But when he does fire that rally of his, he's a threat. and I think he could pop up here if the pace is fast enough on Saturday.
Yeah, I agree with what you said, Brian. He certainly could pop up in here, certainly could get a piece of the trifecta or superfecta. I don't see him winning the race, and I'm not going to use him in my exotic wagers this particular time.
I'm starting to give it away, but I am going to use him. Remember, he was clearly preferred over Bravazzo last time, although Bravazzo beat him when they were second and third to Lee Offrick and the Clark. I don't think that was Seeking the Soul's best race. I like what I saw in the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile. I think a 1.1 miles with some pace. I think he's got a shot. I will be using him in my exotics. Number 5, Matt, is the other horse besides the undefeated Triple Crown winner Justify, who is in the running for the Horse of the Year. His name is Accelerate. He was 6 of 7 last year. He was the Breeders' Cup Classic winner.
Yeah, and it was interesting as they were doing the post position draw. There was a little drama because getting down towards the end, both City of Light and Accelerate hadn't gotten their post positions yet, and it was down to a couple of good posts and the way outside, and they both lucked out and got the good post positions that were left over. I'll be honest with you, Brian. History is on the side of Accelerate with the way the Pegasus has worked out the last couple of years. I'll be honest with you, I don't see Accelerate getting beat in here. The way he's training up to the race and the post position draw and the 1.1 miles, he can sit wherever he wants in this race, and he is going to be very, very hard to beat.
Accelerate is a really nice horse, but on the other hand, Mr. Shipman, I never felt like Accelerate was heads and shoulders above the rest. Some of those California races, the Pegasus, the Pacific Classic, for instance, the competition wasn't there. But if you look at his race against City of Light at Oaklawn, or you look at his race in the Breeders' Cup Classic even, I think there's reason to think that as a clear favorite, he can be beaten. If he runs his very best, and maybe the 5-hole is a great spot, I wouldn't have minded him being farther outside, frankly, especially after what he did in the Breeders' Cup Classic. I think there is a chance for him to be beaten in here. He's got to keep an eye on City of Light. It'll be interesting to see what happens outside of him with other speed possibilities. So, if he's 3-2, 7-5, 8-5, I think there's enough to say, well, there's horses in here that I want to take a shot to beat him. He is the horse to beat, though. Number 6, Matt, is one of the more interesting horses in the race, Tom's d'Etat. Tom's d'Etat is a horse that I could really see being a star on the handicap division this year for trainer Al Stahl. We just don't know if he's good enough. We just don't know if he's ready to step up to this level. But he's in the race, and his form is good.
Yeah, this is the one that I like the most at a price to get into the trifecta and superfecta. This is a new name. This is a horse who clearly is on the improve for trainer Al Stahl. I'm going to take a shot with Tom's d'Etat over some of the same old names again, like Seeking the Soul.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of talent there. I kind of hope he's not too close to the pace. If he's in the middle of the pack and can make a move on the turn, I'm with you. I think he's got a shot to get into the exotics. Number 7, Matt, is True Timber. True Timber's a nice horse, mostly sprinting, although he does have some experience going farther. And his last race, the Cigar Mile, he was running well down the stretch, went second to pattern recognition.
Can't disagree with what you said, Brian, but I'm going to pass on True Timber.
Yeah, I think it's a tough spot for True Timber. I don't know if he's part of the speed or just off the speed, but stepping up to a 1.1 miles and against this competition makes me think he's in for a tough day on Saturday. I feel a little differently about the horse just to his outside. Number 8 is Guinevere. Guinevere is the home track horse here at Gulfstream Park West. Gulfstream Park. He's run 9 times there already. He He won the Fountain of Youth for fun back in the day, and this is a track that I think suits him well, even though he's a rallier. I think he is going to get speed, Matt. I think Gunavera, the Breeders' Cup Classic runner-up, has a big shot in here.
I agree with you, Brian. I would be very surprised if Gunavera is not part of the trifecta, and I will be using him in there, but been a long, long time since he's gotten a stakes win, and I know he's run fantastic races in big spots like the Breeders' Cup Classic most recently. Never runs a bad race, but I just don't see him beating both Accelerate and City of Light in here.
Yeah, well, Gunavera did win a stake last year, Matt, and it was at Gulfstream Park. It wasn't or was that an allowance race?
It was an allowance.
That was an allowance race. All right. Well, I think it depends a lot on what happens early, and I think City of Light and Accelerate have to keep an eye on each other, and Pattern Recognition and True Timber, and maybe Tom's the Top thrown into the mix. So I think there could be some pressure put down sooner in the race than the favorites want, and that only helps Gunavera. It's a track where he can explode with that rally and just pick up horses in a flash. So I'm thinking he is a real win candidate, maybe at some decent odds. Number 9 is Kukulkan, 14 for 14 from Mexico, Triple Crown winner Matt. Every reason in the world to love him, yet I don't.
No, I don't. I love that Frankie Dettori is riding the horse, so that adds a little bit more pizzazz and spice to the whole thing. But I can't use that horse in here, not against this quality field.
Yeah, basically my thought is he's been running against American allowance horses, folks. Hard to say for sure what he's been beating, but it's nothing. It's nothing like he'll find in the likes of Accelerate, City of Light, Gunavera. So for those reasons, both Matt and I are throwing him right out. Number 10, Matt, is Audible. I think you've been on him a little bit more than me the last few months. I've come to a point where I think maybe he's just not quite fast enough to win this race. What do you think?
I think that the odds are going to be there. I think people are bailing on Audible. I'm going to use him underneath for sure.
Yeah, good Gulfstream Park form generally, although last one was disappointing. And maybe if he can step up from that good 3-year-old form that he showed last year, he's got a shot. I'll use him underneath too. I wouldn't be shocked, Matt, if he's the third choice ahead of Gunavera. Maybe not after that last one, though. Number 11, Charlestown Classic winner number 2, Ron Luch. Getting the last horse in the field was imperative.
Yeah, I think it's great that Luch has got one in there. He'll enjoy that. Fans will enjoy that. But out of the two Charlestown Classic winners, I prefer this one the least. Can't use them.
Well, I'm not sure which one I prefer least, but I don't like either one. It seems like Imperative's best days are behind him, and even on his best days, I don't think he was going to win a race like this. Number 12, Matt, and maybe the horse hurt a little bit by the post position draw, is Pattern Recognition. Now, Pattern Recognition is coming off 2 fast wins in New York in the Kelso and the Cigar Mile. He beat True Timber last time. An up-and-comer, even though he's not a real young horse, but an up-and-comer for trainer Chad Brown. What do you think for that speed horse from the far outside?
Yeah, he's won 3 races in a row, and you fans of HorseCenter know that I'm not a big post-position guy, but in this kind of case with the setup at Gulfstream Park, where the run into the turn for the 1 1/8 is so short, and he's a horse that likes to be out front. The 12 post position draw for this one is a real negative. I wasn't keen on him to begin with, so I'm gonna toss him as a contender.
Yeah, I like Tom's the Top, though, Matt. I think he's a horse that we could really see have a good year this year. But yeah, I don't like the post position for him in here. City of Lights, the 3. I think those are the 2 fastest horses early in the race. And certainly the 3 is a better post than the 12 at Gulfstream Park. And plus, there's other horses with pace in there. So I think it becomes a real question what pattern recognition does early. Jose Ortiz will have to probably use. And does he muck up things for City of Light or maybe some of the others early? Or what does he do? Does he try to sit off it? But either way, I like him less than I did with that post position. Hey, Matt, we ran down the field of 12 horses here for the $9 million Pegasus World Cup on Saturday, January 26th at Gulfstream Park. But people want to know what we're betting, and I want you to start it off. We're going to come with our favorite bet just from this race, the Pegasus World Cup. Matt, what do you have?
I'm going to do a trifecta in here, Brian. And for me, it's not a big ticket at all. As I said at the beginning of the show, fans, I'm convinced that the winner of the race is going to be either Accelerate or City of Light. So I will begin my $1 trifecta with Accelerate and City of Light. And then in the second spot, I will simply use 5 horses. I'll use Accelerate and City of Light again. And I'm going to throw in Audible, Guinevere, and Tom's d'Etat. In the third spot, I will use those same 5 horses. That comes to 24 combinations, $1 trifecta, $24. I know if with those 2 on top, it's not going to be a bank breaker payoff. But if the right horses come in, if Tom's d'Etat comes in, if Guinevere comes in, I think it'll be a decent payoff, certainly on a $24 investment.
Matt, I'm shocked. $24 in the Pegasus World Cup, a $9 million race. Big ticket Matt Schiffman going light in the Pegasus. I'm sure you'll have a little bit more, though, as we get closer to the race. Matt, I'm going to do the same thing you're doing, though. I'm going to go with trifectas. I think it's a good trifecta race. And I got to stick with Guinevere. Guinevere was my top pick in my play in the Breeders' Cup Classic, and it really paid off for me. I'm going to try to catch some more magic here. Although, yeah, the favorites are tough. City of Light and Accelerate. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bet $2 trifectas, and I'm going to basically box Guinevere with the 2 top horses, the 2 top favorites, Accelerate, City of Light. So my first ticket will say Accelerate and City of Light on top. Only Guinevere can run second. And for third, I'll have also Accelerate, City of Light, but I'll be throwing in Bravazzo, Audible, Tom's d'Etat, and Seeking the Soul. That'll be 2 horses on top, 1 for second, 6 for third. It's a 2x5 for $20. That's for $2. That's $20. And then the second ticket will be virtually the same, but I'll just be flip-flopping Guinevere on top this time, with Accelerate and City of Light running second, the same group for third, another $20. So those $2 trifecta bets will cost a total of $40. Guinevere has to run 1-2 with one of the favorites, and then I want a long shot for third, hopefully.
Sounds like a good plan.
There you go. Hey, Matt, we did the dirt. Let's do the turf. What do you say?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. All right, Matt, we'll do it the same way. We're going to just run down this field pretty quick. There's only 10 in the inaugural edition of the Pegasus World Cup Turf Invitational. Number 1, I think, is one of the major players, as Magic Wand has run some big races, including last year at Royal Ascot. She ran big in France as well. Aidan O'Brien brings over the 4-year-old filly going a mile 3/16 here, Matt. And if she runs her race, she's tough.
Yeah, no question about that. An excellent European resume, but I'm not keen on Magic Wand in here. This is not the kind of scenario where Aidan O'Brien has big success. I don't know. I just don't see her loving the Gulfstream Park racing surface, the sandy, hard, not a lot of grass turf course at Gulfstream. Like you said, very talented Grade 2 winner at Ascot this past summer, but I'm not going to use Magic Wand.
Okay. Gulfstream Park turf course is a little bit better this year than previous years. We'll go with that. She was 4th. We should mention she was 4th in the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Turf behind the Great Enable and her stablemate Magical. So a good race in America already. She went back to Europe, of course, and now she's coming back. Warm weather down there. I don't know if that's a good thing, but I do think she likes firm turf looking at her past performances, including that nice win at Ascot. So I got to use her, but whether she runs her best or not, that's a question. Number 2, another big player, Matt Yoshida. Turf, dirt, doesn't seem to matter. This Son of Hearts Cry is a good one.
Yeah, what can you say? Big Grade 1 wins this past year on the turf, on the dirt. Big run in the Breeders' Cup Classic. A deserving winner in here. Favorite in here for Bill Mott. But I think there are some question marks with this one. Her performances on the dirt have been especially noteworthy. I'll use Yoshida, but certainly not as enthusiastically as I feel about Accelerate and City of Light.
Okay. Yoshida, I don't think he'll be a heavy favorite in here. At least I hope he won't be a heavy favorite with these good international mares, especially coming in. It should be noted that he did win off a layoff before, although that was a longer layoff when he came back and won that Grade 1 race at Churchill Downs, the Turf Classic there on Derby Day. So he's got that going for him. I think a mile 3/16 is also good. It seems like Bill Mott likes where he is right now for all those reasons, and his overall class. I think Yoshida is a must-use. But I'm wondering too if he's going to throw in his best. He's supposedly going to go to the Dubai World Cup. The dirt Dubai World Cup after this. So interesting turf to dirt to turf to dirt kind of run for Yoshida. We'll see if he brings his best on Saturday. Number 3 is Channel Maker Matt, son of English Channel, won some good races last year. I wonder, though, if firm turf is his bag.
Yeah, I agree. He got really good last year, and he got really good when all that rain and wet was happening on the East Coast. Won the Turf Classic, Grade 1 at Belmont Park. Another one for Bill Mott, but I'm not inclined to think that we're going to see that Channel Maker in this race.
Yeah, fair enough. If you like him, I'm not going to talk you off him because you're going to get some pretty good odds. But I just feel like he's better at a mile and a half on softer turf than he'll find on Saturday. One of several in here that I think could pop up, though, but not for me. Number 4 is Aerolith, and Aerolith is a really classy filly mare from Japan. The gray mare comes in as Group 1 winner from Japan. She's run a lot of good races over there, Matt, and she was 8-1 on the morning line, which was a little surprising to me. And in fact, Matt, if you put a gun to my head in this pretty wide open race, who I pick to win, I think it would be Aerolith.
Fair enough, Brian, and I appreciate your rundown on the Japanese horse. You get Florent Geroux in the saddle also, but I'm going to pass on this one. The long trip from Japan, etc. Gulfstream Park, different kind of surface. I like others better.
Okay, I one more thing in her favor, Matt. I think the class, first off, of Japan turf racing is good, but also I think the firm turf is probably a good thing for her. We've seen Japanese horses run well on firm turf over here before, and it seems like she'll handle that firm turf well. So look out for that gray mare. Number 5, Matt. I think this is one of your horses. Next Shares has really come to life in the last 4 races or so.
Yeah, Richard Baltus has done some great things with this horse, shipping from California. He's run some big races away from the West Coast. Last year with a big win in the Shadwell Mile, and has done some really good things. The 15-1 morning line odds were really intriguing to me. I'm not sure if he's going to be that high in price. I like the win in the San Gabriel at the beginning of January to prep for this. I'm using Next Shares.
Yeah, Next Shares is an interesting horse, and one on the list that I said certainly could run well here. Next Shares, I think you're right. I don't think he's going to be 15-1. I don't see him that high, but he still should be decent. Double digits would not surprise me at all. The one negative I have on next year's, Matt, is I'm looking at these past performances and I'm not sure who he really beat in his wins. And then I look at his past performances and I see the name Catapult, Catapult, Catapult. And the 3 times they raced against each other, Catapult was clearly better in all 3. So that makes me think that next year's might be just a cut below, and therefore he's not one of my top picks in here. Number 6, Fahan Miura, another mare, the 3rd female in this race, Matt, and well, she's speedy.
She's speedy. Another one of the 5-year-old mares in here. She's speedy. She's going to be in there and help ensure that there is a solid pace in the race. But at 30-1, not a long shot that I'm going to play.
Yeah, it's tempting to want to throw her in just a little bit because I'm sure she'll be on the lead here. But going against the boys or going against the top international mares, it's hard for me to see her going all the way. So for that reason, I'm going to discount her a little bit. But she should set the pace, and who knows? Number 7 is Bricks and Mortar. Bricks and Mortars from Chad Brown's barn, always a danger on turf, Matt. And he's run some interesting races in his career, and he came back looking good.
Yeah, he has. I agree with that, Brian. And when you said came back, you're referring to the fact that he came back from around a 14-month layoff to win an allowance at Gulfstream Park recently. And that's a good sign. But that's a big layoff. And there had to be significant reasons why he was off for that long. And at a morning line of 5-1, which I think is kind of low, I am not interested in using Bricks and Mortar.
Yeah, Bricks and Mortar, it seems like should be closer to next shares. There is some good form going back, and Chad Brown certainly is a trainer who can bring back horses after extended layoffs. Obviously, he's got talent. Mile 3/16, I'm not so sure. You know, the breeding says yeah, but if you look at his form closely, it looks like he's a little bit better going like a mile, like in his comeback race. So, yeah, if he's 5-1 or even close to 5-1, it's hard for me to recommend him at those odds. One of the other horses, again, that I think, well, they could run a very good race, but I'm not excited about him as either. Number 8, speaking of horses that you can't really throw out, but on the other hand, I don't love them, is Delta Prince. Another talented horse. He's tried dirt lately, probably better on the grass. He actually finished ahead of Yoshida at Saratoga last year. Is he a horse that could pop up?
Well, I think he is a horse that could pop up, and the difference here is that this one's going to get you a good price if you're interested in using it. A brother to the great Royal Delta. You get Frankie Dettori up in the saddle. Yeah, and I scratch my head a little bit about the good performances, the good performance up in Canada on the turf, and then a couple races on the dirt, a sprinting race in the dirt. So it gets me scratching my head a little bit in here, but talented horse and good odds.
Yeah, and for that reason, you have to consider him at least, but I don't really love the way he's coming up to this race. So for me, it would still be a little bit of surprise, even if you get 18-1 or something. Number 9, Catapult, Matt, and I think quietly, at least on the eastern half of the United States, Catapult has become one of America's best turf horses. You look down his form, and there's just a lot of good races, especially after he went west. Catapult is one of the horses to beat in here, and I tried to knock him looking at his form, and I couldn't.
Yeah, Brian, and Catapult, as you mentioned earlier, has beaten next shares in a couple of races. I like Catapult in here too, Brian. I guess I have to. If I like next shares, I gotta like Catapult in here. Trained by John Sadler. I guess there's a decent shot that John Sadler could have quite a day at Gulfstream Park on Saturday. I like that this horse won at 1 1/8 in the Eddie Reed not that long ago. So the 1 3/16 distance should probably be okay. I'm going to use Catapult.
Yeah, I think you have to use Catapult Matt in here, and remember that good race he ran in the Breeders' Cup Mile where he was running there Mile 316 is a little longer than we see in his form, but like you said, he looked good at a mile and 1/8. So Catapult looks like a must-use. By the way, he's a former Chad Brown, now with John Sadler, who obviously also has accelerated in the big ones. So, as Matt says, Sadler's loaded for these two races. Number 10, Matt, I'm going to give you WW as the 10th and final horse in the Pegasus World Cup Turf.
Yes, I think the most interesting thing about WW is his name. I would say it WW. I heard other people saying Doobie Doobie. In my world of spelling, I don't see how that's Doobie Doobie, but Travis Stone said Doobie Doobie in a race call. But it's a Luchin here. But 30-1, I think, is legit on this horse.
Whether it's WW or Doobie Doobie, I can't see that name being pronounced a lot near the end of this race in the Pegasus World Cup Turf. All right, folks, just like we did for the dirt, the $9 million race, we're going to do it for the $7 million race. And this time, Matt, I think we're focused on daily doubles. How about you go first again?
Yeah, I think that was interesting, Brian. And we didn't talk about it in advance, but it's interesting that we selected the same types of wagers in both of these races. I'm going to do daily doubles. I'm going to do $10 daily doubles. I'm using 3 horses in the turf with my 2 horses in the Pegasus World Cup. So that will be Next Shares, Catapult, and Yoshida with Accelerate and City of Light. That's 6 combinations, $10 daily doubles, $60 investment on this race.
All right, this time I'm going to be the lightweight, and I'm just going to throw out another $20 ticket, my third $20 ticket of the show. This will be a $5 daily double part wheel, and I am sticking with Gunnevera. I like those odds that I'm going to get in the World Cup, so I'm just going to single Gunnevera. In this race, I think the 4 horses that are most likely to win are Magic Wand, Yoshida, Aerolith, who might be the best odds of the 4, and Catapult. So I'll use those 4 with Gunnevera. $5 daily double just cost you $20. That's our wagers for both the Pegasus World Cup and the Pegasus World Cup Turf. I hope you enjoy those $16 million worth of races Saturday at Gulfstream Park. Matt, let's just talk a little bit of Kentucky Derby before we end the show today. We got a points race coming on Friday before the big Pegasus showdown day at Gulfstream. We're going to go to Oaklawn on Friday for the Smarty Jones, and it's a 1-mile race. Winner gets 10 points. Matt, are there any Kentucky Derby possibilities in here in your eyes?
I think there's some horses in here that could maybe make it into the field. The horses of interest for me in there, drawn a big field for opening day at Oaklawn Park. The top 2 horses from the Springboard Mile are back in Bankit and Long Range Toddy. Out of those 2, I like Bankit particularly. The New York bred made a big run in that race to get second, and I see him making a big run again in there also. But I'm interested in a few other horses. I'm interested in Super Steed for Larry Jones. Was really impressive with an allowance win early on, but then disappointed in the Sugar Bowl. So he's going to need to bounce back in there, but I think there's a chance that he will. 6 Shooter is another one. Ran a big race at Delta Downs and going to be good odds. And another one I'm interested in is Gray Attempt, who was the winner of the Sugar Bowl for Jinx Fires.
Yeah, Gray Attempt. Hey, Gray Attempt is a horse I'm quite interested in. The question is, does he want to go a distance? This is a 2-turn race, although it's only a mile, but Gray Attempt has only sprinted so far. I thought his maiden win was very nice. And then the Sugar Bowl. Hey, let's talk about the Sugar Bowl. You mentioned Super Steed was a well-beaten 4th. He's very well liked for Larry Jones, and he could bounce back on Friday. But Gray Attempt was much better down at Louisiana. That was at Fairgrounds, the Sugar Bowl. And the Sugar Bowl already looks like a key race, Matt, because if you look, the 2 horses that finished in between Great Attempt, the winner, and Supersteed in fourth. Hog Creek Hustle was third, and he came back to run second in the Lecomte, a good rallying second. And the horse that ran third in the Lecomte was second in the Sugar Bowl, and that's Manny Wah. So I think that there's some class coming out of that 6 furlong Sugar Bowl, and I think the winner is very good horse. If he can carry his speed, I expect him to win this race. And he might be a horse that could go on down the trail a little bit. Great Attempt, a son of the young sire Gradar. Now, you mentioned the Springboard Mile horses. I'm not sold on Six Shooter. He ran poorly at the Remington Park for that Springboard Mile, and then I don't think he beat much at Delta Downs. Long Range Toddy is an improving horse for trainer Steve Asmussen, and has run some good races. So we'll have to see what he can do away from Oklahoma. And then, like you, I think Bankit, who was second in the Springboard Mile, but was really running down the lane, the New York bred. I think he's the top horse to come out of the Springboard Mile in my eyes. So he might be the biggest threat to Great Attempt here for me in the Smarty Jones. Matt, we've talked a little bit about the Lecomte. I think we got to mention the race that the winner ran, War of Will, to beat Manny Wah, Hot Creek Hustle, and a whole bunch of other horses, because that was impressive.
It was a super impressive performance for the Cassie runner. He got out of the gate, found an ideal spot, sitting back, I think he was like third or fourth-ish on the outside there, got into a nice spot, clear of any trouble, settled into a nice stride, and turning for home, he just exploded down the stretch and drew off very, very nicely. Son of Warfront, and out of a Sadler's Wells mare, has a tremendous turf pedigree where he had started his career, but he looks awful good on the dirt too.
Yeah, Matt, Warwick Will, his first 4 races were on turf. You mentioned the turf breeding, and they were good races. He was right there in graded stakes, and he ran quite a decent race in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf. But then he caught a sloppy main track to finally break his maiden. He won for fun. And then, like you said, in the Lecomte, I was really impressed with the way he just exploded at the top of the stretch. So obviously a horse with big talent. And Mark Cassie's not one to overly hype up his horses, and he's saying big things about this one. So War of Will, I think he's both jumping well up into our top 5. We didn't know what he would do on fast dirt. Now we know he's a horse to watch out for sure. Folks, as always, I want to thank you for watching HorseCenter each and every week here. Matt and I love doing the show, and we love that you enjoy watching. As always, I want to thank our sponsor, the best contest site out there. That's Derby Wars. And also, if you haven't yet subscribed to our YouTube channel here on Horse Racing Nation, why don't you do that now? Matt, can I get a parting shot from you, sir?
Hey, HorseCenter fans, lots of luck on this big Pegasus Day card at Gulfstream Park. And as always, I want to thank our great producer, Brett Workman, for putting together the show.
Happy early 35th birthday to Brett Workman. I don't know if I was supposed to say his age on air or not, but there it is. And hey, next week, Matt, we'll be talking some serious Kentucky Derby preps. I think there's a trio next week, so that's what to look forward to on HorseCenter. But for now, as we trail off, the old pro is back. I'm talking about Roy H. He's about to be our 2-time sprint champion in America. He returned in the Palos Verdes Stakes out at Santa Anita, Matt, and he looked as good as ever. Let's watch that now.